Jin Wuji possessed the typical power of someone at the peak period of the ninth layer of element gathering tier, and yellow-grade high-level martial arts techniques were also the most powerful techniques that could be learnt within this cultivation level. Moreover, he had also formed 2 flashes of qi, so among martial artists of element gathering tier, he was someone that was definitely close to the rank of ruler. Unfortunately, his opponent was Ling Han. 4 flashes of sword qi equated being a ruler of his cultivation level. Jin Wuji felt as if he was facing Qi Yongye again. The only difference was that Qi Yongye was stronger in terms of power. In other areas, Ling Han was not inferior in any way to Qi Yongye. In fact, in terms of reaction speed and ability, he was even better than Qi Yongye. Was this really a 17-year-old young man? Talent was indeed a terrifying thing. It wasn't until this moment that Jin Wuji finally abandoned all thoughts of vengeance. He even decided to pay a visit to Ling Han with his younger brother in tow to apologize and dissolve the bad feelings between them once and for all. It was because Ling Han would definitely have horrifyingly high achievements in the future, and it was practically guaranteed that he would become someone that exceeded Jin Wuji. Since there was no way he could eliminate this kind of rival, then the best idea was to develop an affable relationship with the former. He could definitely not afford to make an enemy of someone of his caliber. The battle continued on and on. This time, aside from using Lone Wolf's blood and indestructible Heaven Scroll, Ling Han had used all the abilities he had on hand, allowing him to enjoy the battle to the fullest. Unfortunately, the 5 elements origin nuclei expended origin power at a very rapid pace, which would not allow him to persist for too long. It'd be great if he managed to obtain the Dark Moon Grass. It would help to expand the space in his Dantian by many times. After battling for more than 100 moves, the 2 of them still maintained a very evenly matched balance. Jin Wuji could not help thinking, there are 3 black-grade alchemists behind this guy, and anyways, I won't be. Similarly with those before him, he chose to deliberately throw the match and do a favor for Ling Han. This way, when he brought his brother to pay Ling Han a visit and apologize, it'd probably be easier to dissolve the remaining bad feelings between them. Brother Ling is indeed brilliant in martial arts. I forfeit. He swiftly retreated backwards, clasped his hands together, and declared his forfeit. Ling Han's later momentum was already a bit lacking, and he was about to start circulating Lone Wolf's blood to defeat his opponent instantaneously. He had never imagined that Jin Wuji would actually forfeit of his own volition. Seeing the friendly signal issued by his opponent, he nodded in response and said, "Thank you for the match." Anyone can make mistakes, so it'd be wise to forgive them if it was possible. Moreover, in the first place, the conflict between himself and Jin Wuji wasn't an irresolvable feud that could not be forgiven. Sure enough, another forfeit. Could it be that among the martial arts techniques that Ling Han has learned, there is one specifically geared to make his opponent forfeit? Ha 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 ha. If you were as talented as Ling Han and have also formed 4 flashes of sword qi, I could also declare forfeit in front of you. Pei, how could 4 flashes of sword qi be so easily formed? The spectators felt both astonished, because Ling Han actually advanced another step further, and numbed as they thought that this was only a natural course of events. After all, this scene had already played many times. Thankfully, Ling Han only had one last opponent remaining, and even if Qi Yongye forfeited too, they only needed to experience a shock one last time. Good. Ling Dongxing gripped his hands into tight fists, slightly numb with excitement. His son was able to achieve such a feat. What else could he ask for? He recalled that when his son had declared that he would obtain the first place in the tournament 2 months ago, he felt absolutely incredulous. But what about now? The first place was so close at hand. Even if he knew that Qi Yongye was very powerful, and the Son of Heaven fist technique was equivalent to 4 flashes of sword qi, as well as that his cultivation level was far above Ling Han's own, he still could not help the wild hope bursting to life within him. What if his son really managed to do the impossible? First place. Since he had already come so far, then he should definitely aim for the first place. If he didn't even issue a challenge, he would definitely regret it for the rest of his life. The other stage masters were all engaged in battle, but there were already few spectators who were still watching these battles. Everyone was waiting with bated breath for Ling Han to recover and the last battle to take place. Was it Ling Han who would be able to create another miracle and become the greatest dark horse in this Dayuan tournament, or would it be the fourth prince that would have the last laugh, completely leaving behind the title of second place? Ling Han had more than enough time to rest and recover, as there was no rule that specified that he had to issue a challenge after resting for half an hour. He would, of course, recover to his best condition before proceeding to challenge Xuanhuan. Although even after a long time, Ling Han did not make any move to issue a challenge, none of the spectators rushed him into doing so, for they knew very well that only if Ling Han managed to recover to his best condition could he and the fourth prince offer the most wonderful, brilliant battle. After another hour passed, Ling Han finally stood. "Here it comes! Here it comes!" all of the spectators thought, immediately growing excited. "Fourth prince, let us battle!" Ling Han jumped up onto the first tournament stage and issued a challenge to Xuanhuan. "Brother Ling, please." Xuanhuan smiled, though he felt an urge to start cursing. After all the people before him had thrown their matches because there were 3 black-grade alchemists standing behind Ling Han. Should he throw his match or not? If he threw the match, then what? The first place of this Dayuan tournament was something that he had coveted for 3 years, and the Dark Moon grass could help him to immediately step into Gushing Spring Tier, which would save him 2 or 3 years' time of cultivation at the very least. But if he didn't, then what? The others have all thrown their matches, and you don't. Wasn't this not giving face to Ling Han? It'd be fine if it was anyone else. But Xuanhuan had a grand ambition. He was someone who would become a famous lord, and a famous lord definitely should respect the wise and recruit talents from everywhere and anywhere. Especially with a genius like Ling Han, to enter a conflict with him was naturally something very bad. So how could Xuanhuan not be stuck in a dilemma? Finally, Xuanhuan still decided to do his best. If worst comes to worst, after he had commissioned the concoction of alchemical pills from the Dark Moon grass, he'd give one to Ling Han. "Please." Ling Han waved his sword, and 4 flashes of sword chi appeared. Xuanhuan gave a loud shout, and already started using the Son of Heaven fist technique. His movements were very large, as if a single punch would be able to shatter everything, even if it was a mountain that appeared in his way. What was even more terrifying was the fact that there were actually 3 layers of chi wrapped around his fists. Although the power of the nation could not simply be added onto it in a sum, but no matter how it was, its strength was still equivalent to 4 flashes of sword chi. All of the spectators gasped in shock. So it turned out that Xuanhuan had not displayed his full abilities previously, and this was the true extent of the fourth prince's power. So powerful, how could Ling Han win against this? Even if his opponent was someone close to Gushing Spring Tier and had not yet formed chi, he wouldn't be able to match Xuanhuan either. Peng! 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 After repeated blows from heavy fists, Ling Han fell into a continuous retreat. However, even if he withstood this kind of attack, there was absolutely no harm done to his body. Body of dead tree. Ling Han was a bit stunned. If he didn't start bleeding, how was he supposed to circulate Lone Wolf's blood? He was about to faint. So it turned out that defenses that were too strong might not necessarily be a good thing, as it actually conflicted directly with him using Lone Wolf's blood. He shouted loudly, and bit down on his tongue harshly. Immediately, a bitter taste flooded the inside of his mouth. He had finally started bleeding. Hong! The 4 5-elements origin nuclei in his body immediately began rotating even faster, suddenly allowing his power to be raised to a new level, 9th layer of element gathering tier. The higher the cultivation level, the smaller the power upgrade from Lone Wolf's blood. However, this was already enough. Ling Han brandished his iron sword, using the shocking electricity sword arts to its full extent. Ding, 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 ding. Peng, 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 peng. The 2 fighters were embroiled in a fierce clash as they displayed their respective prowess as much as they liked. God, so it turns out that element gathering tier could actually be this powerful. I'm also in the 9th layer of element gathering tier, But if I were the one fighting, I'd probably be defeated within 3 moves. If you constantly compare yourself to others, you will only make yourself angry. A new generation is soon going to replace the old generation. We're all old already. This era belongs to the young generation. Quite a number of the clan heads from Grey Cloud Town were sighing tiredly. Some of them were 30 years old, 40 years old, or even 50 years old, and they were all stuck on the cultivation level of 9th layer of element gathering tier. Because they could not manage to break through even after a very long time, they improved their own origin power to its limits with constant practice. But when facing these 2 young talents, they could only sigh at their own inferiority.